Blues is Tangled Up in Blues is the oldest fic in my favorite list.
Oh, that's a really good one.
But yeah, we have just gone live, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
So welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Have I got I've not got my bottom thing turned on, have I?
Oh no! Turn on your bottom arch, Jesus.
How do I do this? I've forgotten everything.
Hangout toolbox, man.
Yeah.
So inappropriate.
Yes. Says Pav.
Yes, I was gonna say.
I was gonna say.
Where the...
Oh, yeah.
There
We'll
it
just
is.
it's Arconic. There we go. Fine.
Yeah.
Lovely Architects.
I'm disappointed there isn't a Derpy standing on the Swedish flag this time. So-
Yeah, that was pretty
Oh,
awesome.
she's still there.
She's just not trampling all over your wife's country anymore.
She's holding her Veronicon badge.
Ooh.
I knew it.
I can't find my FimFiction hat. It is a travesty.
Oh, no.
Are you sure Aqua doesn't have it? Like, did you ever get it back?
I did make sure to get it back after Aqua, like, sort of just acquired it somehow. I can't really remember.
Acquired it nothing. You gave it to him for the fic reading. He
No.
was like, quick, I need to look like a frat boy. Someone give me a hat. And somebody grabbed yours.
Somebody else grabbed mine, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I know I fucking didn't give that away. But yeah. Welcome to the stream. I can't read Roman numerals, so it's this stream edition.
And God forbid you go and find, like, a converter online or something. Because there are none of those.
Well, that requires effort, though, isn't it?
True.
True
And
enough,
less
true
faffing.
enough. We must always have the utmost amount of faff, so... Oh, dearie me. So yeah, welcome to the stream, guys. What is this? It's actually like... How many have we
Okay.
done?
It's 54. 54.
Yeah. Fucking why?
Wow.
Why?
No, you're not meant to ask that.
No, we know why we're doing it because, just like this, kind of denial, nepotism thing. Oh, no, we're not important, please watch us. The real question is, why the fuck are you watching us?
Why do we still have viewers? Yeah.
Because Red and I have adorable fluffy tails, and everyone loves fluffy tails.
Apparently so. As that Ken Ashcroft song goes.
Exactly. Ken's song more involves touching fluffy tails, not loving them.
It is called
well-
Touch Fluffy Tail, so you
Exactly.
know.
I'd forgotten about that.
One thing leads to another.
True. I forgot Ken Ashcroft existed until he came out with like a remix of Mystery Skulls, and I am absolutely all for more Mystery Skulls stuff.
Oh my
so.
god,
I have
yes.
not heard
His
of the
cover
remix.
of it is amazing.
Dude,
Check this out.
have you? Oh, you've not heard of his remix, or just the Mystery Skulls in general?
No, I love Mystery Skulls. I've heard
Alright,
of Ken's.
It's not a mix, is it? I thought it was basically his, like, sort of tribute of it.
Yeah, he did an interpretation of Paralyzed by the Mystery Skulls. So,
Gotcha.
but yeah, it's pretty damn good.
Oh yeah, it's fucking beautiful.
The one music video, like the one Mystery Skulls. No, actually, there's several, isn't it, by the same guy, Mystery Ben. He
Yeah,
did
Mystery Ben's done a few. Which is really sucky because, like, in all honesty, the official music video for Paralyzer, I think, is garbage.
The one with
It's
the
like
hooded.
a parody of The Exorcist, but literally ends up with the dude surfing on her possessed body.
I thought the Paralyzed music video was hooded figures playing basketball.
Do they maybe have multiple versions of it then?
Maybe. I know the video for whatever it was, the other Mystery Ben thing was
Money.
Yeah, no, not Money. The wait, which song are you talking about? Them having the Exorcist parody for?
Hang on.
Because Paralyzed is the one Ken Ashcorp did recently.
Let me look it up.
Yeah. That's
Because
all
I
just
may be
brief.
mixing up songs.
Yeah, we'll all just briefly Google the Mystery Skulls.
Yeah.
Ghosts.
Just on
Kettled
YouTube.
Angels. We're talking about Ken Ashcorp and Mystery Skulls.
Yeah. Are you
And how
thinking
you should
Ghosts,
listen to both
the
of them.
Scooby-Doo one? Like.
Oh, sorry,
Every-
Ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one I was thinking of because I'm
Which
brain
is
dead.
it's a shame because Mystery Ben's video for that was originally going to be the official music video, but they changed the song slightly like right before they released it, and he didn't have anything for that, so he had to change the video, and then it didn't become the official song, which is That's just awful, because it's a fucking great video.
Oh god, yeah, that video's amazing.
Yeah, it's a good song, but it's
I
a
watched
great
it the other day
video.
because I had some advertisement for like Lego Scooby-Doo where they had like little stop motion in the Scooby video, and I was like, okay, that's hilarious. Oh man, now I need to watch that video.
It's just reached over 10 million views.
Yay,
Nice.
Ken.
Yeah. No, Mystery Ben,
Yep.
not Ken. But yeah.
Sorry.
Not Ben, Ken. Ben.
No, Ben. There you go. Then that guy. But yes, welcome to Seattle's stream. We occasionally talk about horses and stuff. Sometimes-ish.
Sometimes. You really want to get technical, I guess.
We really want to get technical.
I mean, technically, we're keeping Red from writing, so, you know, we're being
True.
productive here.
Which is terrible, I'd like to point out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't worry, I have the story open and I'm staring at it lethargically as we speak.
I mean, it's not like stealing 40 cakes level of terrible, but it's still pretty terrible.
Oh god.
It hurts to laugh.
That thing is just never gonna die.
No, true enough, true enough. Jesus Christ. So yeah, welcome to the stream. We haven't actually introduced Arch, because Arch is here like every 5
We haven't
episodes, so I
introduced
don't know if
Arch,
we
but
need
we
to.
have introduced people to the stream like 5 times. Welcome to the stream, everybody,
Because
by
every
the way.
time we try to introduce people to the stream, we start talking about fucking furries singing songs, so, you know. Yeah. Welcome to the stream, Arch. He writes many donkey stories and is currently staring off into the distance.
Well, it's because my
Wistfully.
camera's over here, but your faces are over here, so it's like, I could just sort of be kind of noble and stroke my beard and look thoughtful, I suppose, while I converse.
I feel like that's more like Irish than English, you know, staring off over the locks and such. England is just kind of looking and going, oh fuck, it's raining again.
England has a few locks. I've been on a boating holiday. I know what a lock looks like for England. It's miserable.
Puddle. Miserable, boring grey.
It's fucking
There's
miserable.
sheep wandering around the edges of it. There's a bit of
Yeah.
a little bit of a.
We took the dogs with us on the whatever it is cruise, the riverboat cruise.
Yeah.
And they had an interesting time. We basically just got really long extender leads, tied them to the front of the ship, and let them run along the riverbank. So,
Oh my god, my dogs would be in heaven.
yeah, because it looked almost like, you know, old riverboats. They used to have like a pony just pulling along the boats.
Yeah, they used to have like oxen to pull them. You're two little terriers.
We had 2 terriers just running around mad, barking at sheep. It's fucking great.
I had to explain to someone the other day why sheep didn't catch fire.
Wait, what?
Well, wool is fire retardant.
Well, I know that, but why did you have to explain that?
I don't even remember what the conversation was. I just remember having to explain that no, sheep did not spontaneously combust.
Believe
I
it's
think
on
it
what
came from a
animals.
Warcraft discussion
That's
about poking the critters until they blow up.
Oh, okay.
And then him wondering why sheep didn't catch fire in real life. And me having to explain that wool is a fire retardant material.
There are probably other reasons as well, but that is a pretty good reason.
Probably also because sheep tend not to walk into fires.
Oh, I don't.
You mean they don't stand in the fire?
So they're better than most Warcraft players, yeah.
They're better than most.
but they can safely walk through the fire and flames.
True.
Oh, good.
Jesus Christ. That should just be the fucking theme song of every single bloody resto druid in just WoW. Like, the number of times people have basically committed suicide in that game and then asked me why I didn't save them is bloody ridiculous.
It's just like Watchmen. You know, they look up you and ask, save them.
I'm Dr. Manhattan, yeah.
Yeah, and you just look down and go, no, I love Darwin. I'm helping him. I worship Darwin, and it drives him crazy, but he appreciates that I follow his tenets.
I worship the god of evolution, Terry Pratchett's character. He's fucking great.
Yes.
But like the Beatles, man, the Beatles.
True. Why not give elephants wheels?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, because they get stuck in the mud and fall over.
Yeah, true.
But it's okay. You can make a few Beatles and you'll calm down and feel better.
Mm-hmm. Like, I will heal you. I will fucking heal you. But if you jump off a cliff, I can't heal that. Like, No amount
I
of
can heal
healing
you
is going to
physically, but I can't heal the stupid. I'm really sorry.
That was my Skype status like a couple of weeks ago. I'll heal the dying, but I won't heal the dumb.
Yeah.
Like, there is no amount of magic spells that I can do that will remove your shins from your forehead. Like, Jesus Christ, dude, stop it.
Oh, come on. I'm sure there is if you tried really, really hard.
Just believe. That's the problem. The healers aren't trying hard enough.
Obviously. I mean, that's the truth of everything, right? It's always the healer's fault.
I mean, healing is easy. You just need to spam cure over and over.
So just a quick question. Is this a fanfic stream or is this a gaming stream?
Can't it be both? I mean, do we really have to be so biased?
Let's talk about warships, Arch.
Oh, okay. Look what you done. Look what you done.
I was telling Ferret a story about warships last night. I thought it was pretty fucking funny. But yeah.
Oh, you can't just leave us hanging.
It was. Have I told you like when I was with Derek in the Wyomings? And the guy who was really fucking upset? Have you heard this one, Arch? Because I know M1 has.
No, I don't.
Right.
Let's assume the stream hasn't heard it and just tell the damn story.
The stream hasn't. I was wondering about chat. But yeah, so basically, I play World of Warships with a bunch of people like Arch here, Demon of Decay, M1 Garand, Clownhammer, stuff like that. And Demon of Decay and I were both in Wyoming-class U.S. battleships, which they weigh 27,000 tons. They are fucking fat. It takes roughly 30 seconds for them to turn the rudder, and that is not an exaggeration. It's 27 point something. It's stupidly fat, stupidly slow, stupidly unmaneuverable, and naturally, they have to get out of the way of dinky little cruisers that can run circles around it. You know, it's perfect logical sense. If a cruiser runs into basically an immovable object, it's the immovable object's fault. You know?
Totally.
So this cruiser rammed into the side of Derek and called him a faggot in chat because, you know, it's his fault, and then fired into the side of Derek. Now, Derek, in his Wyoming-class cruiser, he's fat and he's slow because A, he has a ton of armor, and B, he has guns that could crush a car simply by being lowered down onto it. These things weigh like 10 tons each. Derek fired a return salvo and wiped half the ship off the map. The ship survived, but he wasn't very happy. So this guy's raging in chat about how all Wyoming people are horrible, and you know they need to get out of the way because when he's in his Wyoming, he can do backflips.
I would like to see what he's calling a Wyoming because somehow I don't think it's what everyone else.
Yeah, this is 27,000 tons. Absolutely, do a flip.
Could I just back up?
Eskimo rolls, right? In a kayak.
Could I back up a second to the point where you quoted him calling someone a fagot, I believe, as you pronounced it. That is the most adorable homophobic slur I think I've ever heard.
See, then he has.
My meaning thought was he meant like someone who'd been kidnapped by the Fae.
Yeah, he has.
I'm thinking like Fago, you know, like.
Yeah, delicious.
Fago.
Fargo.
And the match went on, and he started behaving himself. You know, he was being a good teammate. He was contributing. We were ignoring him. Right as the last enemy ship was found, and we were about to kill him, this guy dumped all his torpedoes into me. Right? Not the guy who hit him, not the guy he ran into, the guy who was just stood there at the side. He dumped all his torpedoes into me, instantly killed me, told me to suck an egg, and then left the game.
An egg?
An egg.
Yeah.
That's the
Rather
best
than telling you to go and teach your granny to do it.
I don't know whether he thought I was Derek, or he shot at Derek and missed and hit me, or if he just really didn't like the fact that I didn't believe he could do a backflip in a battleship.
Well, no, Plum, obviously the problem was that because you didn't step in and do something, you were just as guilty.
I was enabling, so.
One Wyoming is very much like another. You know, they're all the same, really.
They're all the same. I need to check my privilege. I didn't say Wyoming-class cruiser M1. I said Wyoming-class battleship, so fuck off. Yeah.
Oh, that was fighting words.
Yeah.
We have this recorded. We need to go back and check. I'm pretty sure I heard
I'm
Wyoming
pretty
class
sure I heard a
cruiser.
cruiser in there.
No, he mentioned Wyoming class and then said cruiser, but he was talking about something else entirely.
Yeah,
He said Wyoming class, and then there was a comma, an implicit comma in there, and then he said cruiser, not calling it Wyoming class cruiser.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's cease talking about video games for a little bit at least. Let's talk about horse work.
So in terms of horse wars, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. We have a recent follower who's also in the Skype group. He may be watching us right now, Postmodern Brony, who's actually revived the Ask Me Anything thread in the group and has actually been like asking about like actual like, hey, like how do you write characterization and like actual serious questions, which is kind of weird.
How do I horse word?
It seems inappropriate to ask horse word writing advice in a horse word thread, but you know, okay, I guess.
I guess we can let it slide.
You just can't control some people.
Yeah. So I've been just bored in answering some of these questions, and you know, everyone else is welcome to jump in on these if we are stretching for time. We can go back to the things that were been already asked. But he has a pending question here, so I'm going to steal this and hijack it for the stream. So.
Yeah.
He wants to know about combat sequences. What are some general rules of thumb regarding how to make fighting ponies appear cool? How do you deal with the fact that they're quadrupeds? Are there any particular things you need to keep in mind for Pegasi and unicorns? Non-ponies?
Hang on, I'm going to bring up the question.
I have an answer for this one.
Mm.
Go and read Captain Chrysaline's stuff.
Yes. Very good.
I mean, admittedly, the fighting in his story is almost... Well, there was the scene with the Japanese, but most of the time it's unicorn versus unicorn, and there's an awful lot of like throwing stuff around and magic spells, which doesn't actually...
There are 2 Pegasi fights.
Yeah, there are a couple of Pegasi fights. There's at least one Earth Pony versus Earth Pony thing, but in general...
I like that. That was the one with Applejack, wasn't it, when she was...
Applejack and the Master of Standing
and,
I don't know if that
Solid
was
Mountain,
proper hoof-to-hoof combat, though.
There's been some.
Martial arts.
There's been a little bit, but most of it has just been spells, so...
Yeah.
One of the examples
for ponies is, remember, they have a lower center of gravity, which does mean they can, stand on 2 legs to grapple, but they're more likely to probably stay on all 4s and, like, try to bite or kick, because they have, these big, bony, sharp things on the end of their legs, and these big, sharp, freaking teeth, and have, manes and tails and ears and other things that you can very easily grab a hold of in a fight.
In general, stick with kicking for the most part if it's like relatively unarmed, so kicking and headbutting, because, I mean, they kick trees and all the apples fall out. They're pretty good at kicking, Yeah. But, like, obviously, like, I don't get the part of the question where you're saying, how do I make unicorns and Pegasi fighting look cool? It's fucking cool already. You've got magic spells and they're falling on top of... They're flying around and kicking people in the face. It's cool. You don't need to try particularly hard so long as you don't just treat them as another Earth Pony, so long as you make use of the fact that they're a unicorn or a Pegasus, have them cast spells, have them fly around and do flips and dodge things.
Like, unicorns can, make shield spells, or they can cast offensive attacks.
Yeah.
And, Pegasi literally can move in all, in multiple dimensions, like, can move in all directions.
And they can...
So they can try, it's not like with an Earth Pony you can try and get the high ground for them. Well, Pegasi automatically have the high ground because they're in the sky.
Or
they can hide in clouds. They can harness clouds to make them create thunder or ice or rain.
But this is all like actual actions taking part in the the fight scene itself. Do you guys have any advice for the actual logistics of writing it? Personally, don't get too specific. Don't go too into detail, because first of all, being specific can weird people out. It reminds people that ponies bend in weird shapes and do weird things. And secondly, because detail bogs down the pacing. And in a fight scene, the pacing is everything.
Short sentences tend to work better.
Definitely better to keep it quick.
Yeah, keep it quick, keep it simple.
Or even just if you want to go this route,
okay.
Describe more like the feelings and the sounds and the sights more than and then so and so twisted his hoof and just but just have it be more like, snap, kick, crunch, kind of like translating a comic page into writing.
If you use the two words "and then," you are in trouble. Like, don't do that in the slightest. It needs to be short, it needs to be snappy, it needs to keep up the pace of the action, because a fight, aside from, like, some sort of Mexican standoff where they just stare at each other for a while and taunt each other, and "these are my grand evil plans, you will never stop me now," little scene in the middle of it, the fighting itself is going to be short and visceral, and it's going to be extremely fast-paced, so you need writing to match. Yeah.
Like earlier, as an example, Captain Chrysalid was brought up as an example. There's also, in terms of like good examples to learn from, the example that always got kicked around. It's an older one. It's on Fimfic from like early 2012. Jack and the Ponies. A Samurai Jack crossover.
Yeah, that was quite good.
15K one-shot has some pretty fluid fight scenes and pretty good in the description. So
the fight scenes in Samurai Jack itself are pretty top-notch. I love that show.
Yeah.
Rip.
And that one especially really does manage to capture well the feel of the show itself. And then sort of blend ponies into it nicely.
I know Pav's written fight scenes.
Yeah.
Like, Pav and Red have both written fight scenes, because Pav's got his Chrono Trigger. Red's got, I know at least he's got that one story with the Minotaurs and the ponies and the siege, and there's other stuff as well. Arch, have you written fight scenes in your stories?
Other than verbal
No,
fighting.
no, I just have a lot of people arguing with one another. It's a lot like French cinema, really.
Emotional fight scene.
I don't know. I mean, Rosalind just takes a spear in the butt a few times, but that's not necessarily fighting.
It wasn't really a fight, though, was it? It was more of a sort of a sustained period of abuse.
Oh
I just
dear.
remember you telling us that story and just being like, and that's my parents locked me out, and everyone else is traumatized, and you're just totally content. Like, no, I got over it, and the rest of us are all shocked.
Yeah. Well, I made
I
it.
just realised, all these times we've talked about BronyCon, nobody has mentioned the fact that Aquaman arm wrestled 3 people at once and won. And one of those people was Pav.
Who were those people? So there was JP Jaxie.
There was Pav.
Pasco White. Oh, sorry, yeah, JP Jaxie, Pav, and some random guy. Because
And
first it was
Aquaman
Aqua and
still won.
Jax, and Aqua beat him easily.
Yep.
And then he dragged in Pav and some random dude. And they actually, like, came close to being a threat to Aqua, and then he sort of braced himself.
It got down to about, like, here. And then, like, you feel that shaking where it's just like, oh, God, no.
Yeah, and then Aqua just kind of, like, he braced his leg and just took the match.
It was fucking great.
And I think Jax was going to write it up as this amazing epic where he was the evil villain. With, like, 10 men.
The moral of the story here is that Aqua is totally swole.
Yeah.
I'll say.
Super swole.
Nova Cosmic says, Rainbow Dash Laughing Face. You guys are hilarious. Rainbow Dash Laughing Face. Rainbow Dash Laughing Face. Rainbow Dash Laughing Face. Well, thank you, Nova Cosmic. We like to
I love
think
how you
so
say
too.
laughing.
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 Yes.
It's like I say garage. I get infinite shit from my mum, because she says garage, and I say garage.
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 God, you say
Uncultured
you call yourself
swine.
a Scot.
No, I've not got my Scottish accent on. If I had my Scottish accent on, I'd be talking completely differently. So, yeah.
Do you actually have a Scottish accent?
Oh yeah,
I'm sure he does.
I absolutely do.
I've
It
only
becomes
heard what he calls his generic English accent.
yes. My accent becomes progressively more
Pronunciation.
Scottish. Yes, my proper pronunciation. My accent becomes progressively more Scottish the closer in proximity I get to my Scottish relatives. So.
That is funny how that works.
Yeah, I suppose it's the same with Irish people. It's just funny because I've never even been to Ireland.
Thank God, yeah.
I did have actually.
Traumatizing.
I remember one other thing I wanted to add to that question. Totally jumping back like 5 topics about fight scenes.
Because we don't normally do that.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're professionals here.
True enough.
The thing that you always see, like if you are watching any like behind the scenes about movie making, is that they have fight choreographers.
Yes.
It is very
Oh
much.
my god, yes.
It's very much a dance. It's very much you want to have this thing planned out. You want to have like the actions in your head need to be fluid as well, and then you transfer that fluidity onto the page.
Actually, the other thing I know that a friend of mine claims he does, but I'm not sure I believe him, is that he gets him and another friend to actually like go down on their knees and like plan out the entire fight and like block it out live. But I'm not really sure I believe him because he's one of those very like proper gents, and I just can't imagine him being that silly.
Hey,
I want to say that I have never gotten down on my hands and knees to plan out any scene. This has never happened.
Okay.
That is very comforting to know, considering the type of things you write. Also, I would like to know where you find someone who is like roughly 3 times your size to block those scenes out.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
There he goes. If having it doubled over at least once every podcast is
These scenes are both forcible touchings.
I regret nothing.
I will be playing the part of forcible touchings in this little enactment. Rip have
killed him.
Act 1, Scene 1, forcible touchings assumes the position.
Assume the position.
Oh god, we killed Pav and Arch now.
Yeah. Rip. Rest in Pav.
I loved how in the BronyCon chat they were discussing who puts a Plum's linguist to Princess Neon Boom.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone was asking what the shoes that Celestia wears are called, and I'm like, they're bootsies, because this Princess Neon Boom reference sheet says they're bootsies.
There is actually a name for those. I can't remember what it is offhand, but
It's fucking bootsies. I will fight you, mate.
They're hoop boots. Deal with it.
You what, mate?
I know, like, the costume in general is called raiment, right?
Yes.
I know that.
But the raiment sort of like describes the whole outfit.
Yeah.
Like that's the tiara, the petrol, and
Here we go.
the things on her feet that we're undecided about what they're called.
Bootsies.
Yes. They are called hippo sandals.
Cool.
Hippos?
I'm just gonna.
Hippo sandals.
Hippie sandals.
What?
No, Art, we're trying to bring Pav back, not send it back.
Pav is a ghost. Pav is a ghost. This is like the next fucking.
No more Pav.
I'm a ghost that just tells bad puns.
So you're like a dead obs. Yeah.
Like,
Rest. It'll just die and it'll say rest in puns. Oh.
yeah, and that'll be the end of it. We need to have Obs on here sometime.
We had him on here. He had a horrible cold and died. So, yeah.
I know, that's my point. We need to resurrect him. Someone get a good healer.
Well, funny you should say that.
Yeah, healing's easy.
You just stand there and spam cure while people stand in fire.
Out of honor.
Right.
Yes.
Serious
right.
face.
What were we talking about before Pav died?
Forcible touching.
Yeah, before that. God damn it!
You killed him again.
Fight scenes. No, we talked about.
No, we
something
were
after
talking
fight
about
scenes.
getting on our hands and knees.
Oh yeah. That's true. But
And finding
yeah.
somebody who's 2 or 3 times our size for accuracy in blocking out the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It is.
New question. There's a lot of grappling in this fight scene I'm planning.
I'm planning a fight scene, and there's a lot of oil involved.
That scene from South Park comes to mind.
I'm planning a scene, and they're all naked, but they keep making strange noises, and I'm not sure how to have it misrepresented.
Like, I remember what there was that it's an Imgur post that keeps on going around where it's like they're asking mothers, what don't your children know about you? And one of them is like, I used to mud wrestle naked in schools. And the kids right next to them go, huh? No.
Yeah, I think that's one of those, your kids didn't need to know that, honestly.
There's a reason they didn't know. Oh, yes. Jesus Christ. But yes, to get back to the original point that was made, it is important to be able to visually, like, to imagine in your head how the action is going to flow. You can't just, like, think, oh, it would be cool to have a punch here. Like, because that may not make sense in the context, you know, like, as Pav was saying, movies have choreographers to make sure that the action flows. So you need to think through the scene beforehand. You may not need to get on your knees and act it out, but you do need to think it through.
And that also, especially if there's many actors in the scene, I mean, it's you know, exactly like it would be in film, is that you're only watching one or two characters at a time.
Yes.
But you can still understand that there are other, you know, characters moving in the background, and so, you know, if you know, two people are fighting it out, and then, you know, one of them gets knocked out off camera, then you, the writer, can understand that and can find that all out. But
it's important to I think it may be a decent idea if you've got, like, more than one person fighting, like you've got a group fight going on and more than one people are fighting at once. It may be an idea to have sort of like a chart, like a flow chart to represent what's going on, to get it clear in your head. Yeah. Because, like, it's entirely possible, like, when you're thinking...
Like, you take a bunch of coins or something and put them out on a table so you can sort of block out where each character is.
Yeah.
That can really, really help.
Yeah. Just
like, some people can do stuff in their heads. I'm one of those people, I need to actually physically see it in front of me to understand stuff. And I have done that for confusing fight scenes, where I take, like, a handful of change or something, or some Skittles, and, like, lay them out. I'm like, okay, this character's here, and now this character does this, and this character does that, and go, oh, okay, I get it now. Or I go back to the author and go, hey, I figured out a massive flaw, please fix this. Because I'm their pre-reader, and it's my job.
One favorite thing that I like to do, especially if the fight is just between, like, two people, is it helps a lot if you try to put the reader in the place of one of the people who is fighting. Like, don't just say so and so punched him and then so and so punched back and there was, you know, this and that happening.
I mean, unless the purpose is literally to be like the characters are having a slap fight or something.
Yeah. say instead of saying, like, and then Twilight got punched, say, like, there was an explosion of pain on the side of Twilight's face. It felt like her
it's definitely an occasion for more show in that sort of situation.
Yeah, it is really good to sort of bring the reader into that circumstance.
Show, but still our earlier advice of also keeping, you know, your pacing quickly. So you got to balance those two things out. But if you have both of them, then that's what makes it effective, if you can combine them.
Yeah, basically you don't want to turn into Tom Clancy.
Right.
Oh, incidentally, on the subject of Tom Clancy, ponies and guns, no. Never. Ever.
Let's not start this again. We'll give Miguelo a heart attack.
and then someone's going to bring up wing blades, and Dave's just going to flip out.
Let's just avoid that whole topic entirely.
I mean, ponies can shoot lightning.
I made a blog post a long time ago about pony fighting, and how, like, a lot of people don't seem to be quite as creative as I think they could be with how ponies wage war. Like, from what we've seen in the show, there could be some pretty freaking insane stuff. Like, let's say, how can Applejack kick a tree and only make the apples fall down? That's pretty crazy to me. So it can translate into like. Well, what if Earth ponies can, like, actually direct where they want the kinetic force to go? Like, instead of just punching you, they can punch you and then your heart explodes and nothing else because the. Or like Fist to go off Fist of the North Star, where like Applejack kicks somebody and she's like, you are already bucked, and then like 2 seconds later they explode.
You are already my friend.
Yes, the 5-point palm exploding heart technique, only with hooves.
Yeah.
Eagle claw. Oh, Jesus. But yeah, like, it's important to remember that ponies are biologically not human. That's kind of a big thing, but people forget about this when they like fight. This is why we have like mouth guns, and this is why we have stuff like that. And they don't make sense. We're not gonna get into discussion about them. Let's just agree that it's silly. Even if you like them, they're silly.
Right.
You need to like think about ponies as a different species and treat them as their own thing. Like literally every single member of an equestrian army is a cavalry unit. Yeah. Literally every single one. So then they're not going to fight in the same way that a human army would. You know, they don't have the same sort of flexibility in order to do the same thing we do, but they have other advantages. So make them fucking weird. Make them do different things.
Something that can be worth doing is actually looking up videos of ponies and horses fighting each other. Like, stallions will fight each other, like wild stallions, you know, will fight each other for dominance over herds. And watching them fight is a really interesting thing to see because of how uniquely different it is. You know, the way they snap and bite at each other is really distinct from the way we think of people fighting and can really help give you some good ideas of, like, this is how an equine fights. This is how quadrupeds do it. Kind of thing.
But I think it's also important to keep in context what, you know, I mean, if you are going for gritty realism, you probably want to go like the route that Ferret suggested, you know, with like watching actual horses. If you're going for, you know, something a little bit more, you know, kind of, you know, bold fantasy, you might pull in some fantasy tropes, but then think how to reinvent that with horses. If you're going for something completely ridiculous and over the top, like, you know, humble brag my story, where Rainbow Dash backflips off the top of a dinosaur's head with a katana in her mouth. You know, you have to understand the tone of your story, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
One thing that I find strange is, like, when a lot of stories feature ponies in close combat, and often they have weapons, you know, like one of the most common ones I see is like ponies wielding swords in their mouths, which in itself seems really quite dumb to me, because you just can't. I can't imagine them swinging their necks with enough force. Why don't more authors use the lance? You know, because that makes sense.
Lances make a lot more sense, and we've seen lances in canon. The Royal Guard all use lances.
Or they could have like little falsies that they put in the mouths with big fangs on them that stick out that they can go blast people with.
That's for bad.
Or they could wear, you know, spiked horseshoes, which are actually a thing.
Horse
on ice.
Especially if you're, you know,
horses that are spiked.
Why not just make like a set of bits or reins or something with swords attached to them already?
Like one thing I've seen which I'm quite okay with is like Pegasi or that pony. Like bladed gauntlets for their front hooves, which makes a lot of sense because them flying around frees up their front hooves. But a sword in their mouth, I just can't see it working properly.
It is a little bit. It is a little bit ridiculous. I will, you know, having written, you know, ponies with weapons in their mouth, I will agree to the ridiculousness of it. Devil's advocate, though, I will say, you know, we regularly see some pretty impressive mouth and neck strength from the ponies in the show. You know, AJ with the lasso in her mouth and, you know, just like yanking on, you know, yanking on tree branches and stuff like that. So it's not, you know, it is definitely, you don't want to think of it like a human trying to do things with their neck and mouth because you know it's not our comparable strength thing. But if you're going for something completely realistic, you know, like I said, katana backflipping off a dinosaur. You know.
There are two problems with that though. The first one is that holding a sword in your mouth means that the enemy sword is going to be in your eyes. Like if like two swords clash, you are going to be in serious trouble because it's going to be right in front of your face. And the second point is
have your hand guard, or in this case, it's your face guard.
Your mouth guard.
I'm just imagining Rainbow Dash like trying to use a sword and just sort of like wagging her head around like a dog.
That's what she does.
That scene does occur in the story.
Yeah, and you know, your cover art is Rainbow Dash holding a sword in her mouth.
It's very true. It's also true that while we have seen Applejack do amazing things with a mouth, ho, yes, she's also done exactly the same things with her tail. Like she has thrown lassos with her tail, and she has done all sorts of things like that. So why not have like a weapon attached to the tail?
Even like Rarity, a unicorn. You know, like some people have said, oh, it's Earth Pony magic, or oh, it's just a cartoon contrivance. But we've seen like Rarity picking up in
Packages.
Party of One. She picked up that cake for Pinky with her tail.
Yeah.
So yeah. No mouth guns things, no sword mouth things.
How about
no fucking wing blades? Tail guns. Yeah, that's the obvious solution. Make them like a scorpion.
Luna Eclipse, there was that one guy who's like dressed up in the knight outfit, and he had a mace for a tail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was super cool.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense when you think
Midnight
about it.
Shadows. I think it's called Ace of Diamonds. Has the pony discovering weapons, and one of the things is like a mace that goes on the end of his tail. The other thing he has is a spiked piece that goes right at the base of the tail to prevent someone from biting on it. Like,
yeah, that would make sense.
Interesting.
Similar to like a spiked dog collar or some such.
Yeah, like
with
the completely different way that ponies are set up by a shut up, Arj. No kink on the battlefield. No kink here.
It's all kink.
True.
Anyway, carry on.
This is fanfic. Everything is kink. Like with the different styles of the different design of a pony, you do need to make use of this. Like as Ferret mentioned, you could bite on someone's tail and just yank them to the ground or something like that. You know, like there's all sorts of opportunities for new and unique ways to fight that open up when you stick ponies in it, and griffins and dragons and all sorts of things.
Griffins and dragons.
Add more griffins and dragons. There you go. That's
because I mean, as much as we're talking about mouth guns are lazy and swords and mouths are lazy. I mean, if you want to talk really lazy, you have the people who are like, thinking about quadrupeds would be hard, so this is an anthro now.
Yeah, like I was just about to bring up your comment in the thread we had in CR's Angels where someone was asking about anthro, and your comment, like someone made a comment saying, I make my stories anthro because I can't imagine Applejack operating a train. And your comment was, yeah, if she came to Earth and operated a human train, then that would be fucking dumb, but it would be adorable. But in a pony world, the ponies are going to make trains work for ponies, so it's not going to be dumb. You know?
It's like everything is designed for them,
but
so it is designed to work around their strengths and limitations.
We saw ponies operating trains.
Yeah, and we've seen ponies operating typewriters, and obviously they don't have, like the human keyboard because that would be stupid. Why would they have a human keyboard? They would obviously have, that two-hoofed keyboard thing. So similarly for trains, they would have a train designed to be operated by ponies. Even if you wanted to have a gun, you would not have, a regular handgun with that tiny little pistol or trigger that they can't get their hoof into because it would be designed for a pony.
Dear Twilight Sparkle, how do you type with boxing hooves on?
Trevor the Vampire.
Though, for the record, we have seen episodes where there's been ponies holding things with their hooves that they shouldn't be able to hold, like
absolutely,
like that, holding a bunch of sticks with
marshmallows
on, just sort of, they were just stuck to her hoof. And nobody say magnets. That's not how magnets work. Fuck you.
Yeah, I remember someone.
No, it's like Van der Graaf force, isn't it? The same thing that lets geckos stick to walls.
Yes.
I remember
tiny
someone,
hairs.
Like every time this thread comes up, someone always links a video, and it's like basically a beanbag on a stick. But the beanbag, what they do is they stick it on something that they want to pick up, and then they suck all the air out the beanbag, and then it can pick up anything.
It conforms to that shape and can pick it up, and the benefit is it can literally manipulate pretty much any shape of object.
Yeah, I prefer to just say it's magic.
Yeah.
That's
that's coffee grinds in a balloon. It's like, I don't think ponies are made out of coffee.
Yeah.
They're made out of marshmallows.
They're made out of marshmallows, yeah.
Marshmallows and hard candy.
That's the simplest answer, isn't it? Like, every pony has, like, a low-level telekinetic magic field or something like that. That means they can pick stuff up with their...
See, now what happens if that goes wrong? Would they just be walking around and things just randomly start sticking to them?
Just imagine some poor
and then you get flung into space and become a new son.
Imagine some poor ponies.
This is Celestia's origin story. This is where the sun came from.
Where the fuck is Alex? We need someone to write
Rather
this.
bunch of ponies and
Yeah, I thought
things
Alex
and
was
just
coming out
flung
tonight.
them
What
into
happened?
space.
He died.
He got married.
Just imagine like Celestia running across the countryside and there's stuff sticking to her, and Luna's like, "What are you doing?" And Celestia's like, "Help me! I can't stop."
Sunrise is in 6 hours. I need to get this shit rolling. And she just rolled. Hey, Vale.
King of the Cosmos is not impressed.
Bumps into Big Mac and he's like, okay. So it just rolls.
Nope.
Fucking great. This is beautiful. It's canon accepted.
Yes. New canon acquired.
Yes. But what other questions has Postmodern Brody asked in the forums?
A couple. Let me just.
I know you've basically answered all of them.
I mean,
So-
I can
I
quickly
wasn't even aware it
recap
was a
them.
thing, or I probably would have.
Yeah. The
talk
one
about-
before that was how to write angst properly, and I think Pav pretty much nailed that one.
There was also a question about what objective qualities would you use to rate the quality of one pony butt over another. But we can go with your question, I guess, if you want.
But yeah, like he asks, how can angst be done right? What are some obvious pitfalls to avoid? When making fear, grief, despair feel genuine and not silly. And Pav is absolutely 100% correct in his answer, where the key to making good angst and good fear and anger and stuff like that is empathy. And people need to be able to understand and like sympathize with the character, you know? Empathize. Seeing as it's the word empathy.
I feel like the angst should also follow like a story does. There's a rising action, and then there's a climax, and then there's a fall. You don't just say this character was sad and they're always sad and it is so sad. You kind of pull it out slowly, trying to build it up, and then you get to the emotional climax where everything just comes out. You know, you can't. God, you can't
just flip a switch. You can't just push the angst button.
Yes.
You know?
I was trying to think.
This character is sad because I say so.
I was trying to think of a metaphor that didn't sound overtly sexual, but yeah. Thank you.
Well, I mean, earlier in your little talk, you did say you have to pull it out slowly. So I think we're beyond that point right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for some reason now I've got in my head the image Potter Puppet Pals, where Harry Potter is beating his head against the stage, just going angst, angst, angst.
Yes.
Bother.
But yeah, well, I mean, like, you know,
there has to be a moment of catharsis, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
You have to let it all build up, and then there has to be some relief from it. It can't just be a constant, overwhelming, blah, sad.
Giggity.
Yeah.
Giggity.
Because I mean, that's not for the character arc's perspective. That's a non-moving character arc. If they're just angst, then the arc is not moving. It's boring for the reader to read all that angst. So it has to. Like I think I even said in my post there that, you know, things have to be moving forward. They have to be going toward a goal. So you can have this angst, you can have this sadness, but it needs to move the story in a direction. It needs to move the character's arc in a direction, either to, like, you know, focus them on you know, a new target, or focus them on getting revenge, or moving them to a thing.
Yes, this is accurate.
There has to be some kind of progress. If the character is literally just going, I am sad all the time, woe is me, it's just going to get really boring and just kind of, why should we care? You're just miserable, and that never changes.
But that's just general character writing advice. Like, if a character is described basically by like their main description is an emotion, like they constantly feel sad or they constantly feel angry, 9 times out of 10 they are going to be a very boring character. Like, you can have them be something like quick to anger or easily depressed or something like that, but simply being depressed or simply being angry or happy gets really kind of stale, you know. But yeah. What other questions has he got?
What do we got before that? This was an interesting question, and I know that again, I have answered all these questions with way too many paragraphs, but I liked this question. So he's got a situation where he wants to write a story about two characters. He's got the story planned out. He's got the two characters planned out, and he was vague in his question here, but he does not like one of the characters. I don't know if he just doesn't like them as a character, or he finds them too difficult to write, or what that case is. But he's like. He's got this great idea. He doesn't want this character. He wants to swap this character out with another character. And, like, is that a good idea? Should he try to force it to make it work with the original characters from his concept, or what do?
That's a tough one. See, that would depend on the character, wouldn't it, really? I mean...
Like, it's entirely possible that in a given situation, two characters will work pretty much equally well. Not entirely likely, because you've got to ask yourself, if you've got two characters who do the same thing in the same situation, why have you got two of them? But...
Well, and also, if you don't think you can write the first character and there's another character that's basically equivocal to them, then would you actually enjoy writing that other character, or are they basically the same character then?
Yeah, pretty much.
I would say challenge yourself and use the character that fits better, even though you don't know them quite as well.
Absolutely. Like, how else are you going to get to know them?
The thing I brought up too is that maybe you've had experience writing with them and you kind of struggled, or maybe you just don't like their character. But not liking a character and not being good at writing a character are two very different things. You might have your favorite pony and you can't write your favorite pony worth a damn. But there's this character that you're kind of lukewarm on, but you actually can really capture their voice effectively.
I will point out that basically everyone who says Pinkie Pie is their favorite pony cannot write Pinkie Pie. Like,
yes.
80 to 90% of authors who say that. It's
also
really
Pinkie
difficult.
Pie, also Discord. And everyone is like, oh man, Discord is my favorite character. He is really tough to get a good Discord.
Oh yeah, both of them are pretty bloody hard to do. Like, they have a kind of comedy. Like, they each have slightly different takes on the comedy, which you can't just rush into it. It's actually, it appears random and just completely off the wall, but it is actually really quite delicate to do.
And I see far too many, especially with the comedic characters like Pinky or Discord or even Cheese Sandwich, that are their idea of capturing the character is to regurgitate the same jokes. And so immediately you introduce Discord and he comes with Chocolate Rain, and it's like, okay, look, he did that in one episode. Just, he's not about regurgitating the ghosts. He's
regurgitating the ghosts.
But that would be that would be creative. That would be something new.
True. It would be new.
It would certainly be different. Yes.
I believe this is the right point to bring up. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Oh, then again, it's Discord. Just do it.
Yeah, true. True. He did turn up on a little Italian scooter at one point, and then Mary Poppins away. So
Oh, he did, didn't he? Yeah, I remember that.
Speaking of not new, just because it's new doesn't mean it's good. I see a lot of people who try to do something. This isn't just applicable to Pinkie Pie and regurgitating the jokes and all that, but in stories in general, just because something is only slightly different does not make the story any more original. I'm gonna kind of commit a cardinal sin here and bring up displaced stories, but I see so many of people who say, oh, this is completely different from all those other stories that use this exact same idea and story arc because it's the character from Ranma 1.5 instead of the character from Galaxy Quest or something. It's like, no, it doesn't quite work that way. That's not being original. That's not being new. That's just slapping new paint on an old car.
I kind of want to see Galaxy Quest in a question now.
Yes.
That would be pretty good.
Because, whatever.
Because whatever.
Now, would that be Galaxy Quest the Star Trek homage coming to Equestria, or would it be the bona fide version of this? So you have I guess it would be like Tara Strong and the other voice actresses landing in Equestria. And it's like, or wait, no.
Don't make me think about this. I might start writing it.
Quick, let's make him think about it. But yes, I have a question I want to ask people, and this is something that my answer to this question is something I've been thinking about a lot recently due to other people doing this sort of thing. I want to know, what do you think is the single most harmful piece of advice you can give to a writer? A new
Your work
writer
is perfect, never change.
That's not advice.
Well, she has got a point, though. People do give that as advice.
It's true. It is true that
it's not. Yeah, it's not technically advice, but people seem to think it is.
Mm-hmm. You get people who come along and try to help an author improve, and they give something that actually may make the author considerably worse. Like, do you guys have anything? Like, should I just go first with the thing that I've been thinking of for a little while?
Well, it sounds like you have something specific, so why don't you go first?
Yeah, I'll give you guys some time to think about it. The thing that I've recently, I believe I started thinking about this almost immediately after the do's and don'ts of fanfiction panel at BronyCon, which is, it's like thinking of a comeback like 2 hours after someone said something rude to you. But yeah, the single worst piece of advice I think you can give a new author is about breaking the rules of writing. Like, I've seen this a number of times. Whenever someone's saying, like, oh, they don't like my story because it's got an addict C, or it's so edgy, or something like that, and then someone comes along and says, well, all these fantastic stories have bucked the trend. They've broken the rules of writing, and they've done amazing things, and they're incredible. And while it's true that some of the best stories ever written have broken what are conventional writing rules, this is horrible advice to give to an author, because the simple act of breaking the rules isn't what makes these stories interesting. It's the rules that they're breaking and the ways in which they're breaking them which make it interesting, in addition to whatever else the story's got going on. And in order to do that, you need to know and understand and comprehend the rules first.
You don't just break the rule for giggles. You understand why you're breaking the rule.
Like, if you just start out writing and you start out bucking the trend and breaking the rules, 99% of the time you are going to fail horribly. And the 1% of the time that you do well, it's going to be luck. You're going to have accidentally broken the rules in an interesting way. It's
a bit like saying 2 + 2 = 5 because rules were made to be broken.
Yeah.
You're flat out wrong, and no matter how much you insist, well, this is a new way of doing it, that doesn't make it good.
Yeah. Like, you need to understand how to do this properly first, and once you've understood these things, then sure, go for it. Break the rules, do crazy things like a white box which uses colored text. 99% of the times, I'd say don't you fucking dare use colored text. It's a stupid idea. But white box and Aquaman's demon thing, whatever it is, they both used colored text in a really interesting way.
Because in breaking those rules were broken in service to the story.
Yes, in a certain way that made it interesting. If you just come on fanfiction
just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, if you just come on fanfiction and Pinkie Pie's words are pink because whatever, then that isn't gonna make your story any better. It's not going to improve the experience for your readers. So yeah, that's what I've been thinking about for like 4 weeks.
So
very patient, bravo.
So I guess I have one, and before I give mine, I'm going to go back to this crossover with Galaxy Quest. So the crossover with Galaxy Quest is that Discord comes and starts fucking with Earth. The ponies from Equestria come, but they're not the actual main 6. They are just the actresses who portray them, and we're all like, oh man, use the elements of harmony, and they're just like, I made a crossover. I'm gonna read that.
Someone write that, please. That does sound pretty.
Jaxie's next story.
There you go. I mean, Jaxie's already doing the main 6 are actually actresses in a television show in Equestria. So there you go. He'll turn into a Galaxy Quest thing.
Snips' fanfic writers already did it.
But no, so getting back to Plum's question, my thing for the thing that you don't want to tell new authors, I think I don't have a way to easily capture this into a single sentence, but there is a tendency, especially with an experienced writer, that you've like seen a lot of things before, and so you're trying to give them advice on how to dodge the tropes, and you're saying, oh well, you've got this one little thing, and I really like what you're doing with this one piece. If you could expand this. The danger then is in advice, like the author clearly has an idea of the story they want to write, and so my advice is like be careful not to advise them to write a completely different story, because that might not be the story that they want to write. That may not, they may, like kind of being like, oh crap, I'm writing, and I'm speaking from experience here on this. That sometimes you get this advice and it's like, okay, you're suggesting a good story, but this is a completely different story from my vision. It's no longer mine, and I don't feel the passion behind it anymore.
The author needs to know when to cut off. Like it's similar to the advice about world building. You may have fantastic ideas about how griffins formed as a society, but if you've just got a griffin dude who turns up and then leaves a chapter later, there's no real point getting into that 99% of the time. You need to learn to just say, no, this is not part of the story that I'm writing. I can write about it some other time, but not now. But yeah, I can agree that's pretty decent. But also, I see an awful lot of people misunderstanding two pieces of advice. People giving these advices and misunderstanding what they're supposed to be.
I think I know what you're going to say before you say it. Yep.
And show don't tell.
Yep.
Those are the two that are most commonly misunderstood. Like the idea of a Mary Sue is surprisingly misunderstood by large numbers of people. Like the simple act of a character being powerful doesn't make them a Mary Sue. The idea of a Mary Sue is that they are somehow powerful enough in whatever way to make the conflict of the story uninteresting.
A Mary Sue is not challenged.
No, that's the thing. Like, but I believe I talked about this actually in the Do's and Don'ts panel or the author support panel. I can't remember which. Where I brought up the example of Gurren Lagann, which is a show where at one point the good guys are controlling a mech literally larger than a galaxy, and at the time, it's not Mary Sue-ish because they're fighting an enemy literally larger than a galaxy. Like it's all about the conflict still remaining an actual conflict instead of just a one-sided slapdown. And the other one I was talking about was show versus tell. So many people just advise not to tell ever, and that's just
or like they see like a single to be verb and they're like, oh, this is telly, and it's like that's not universal.
Like there are very few completely universal pieces of advice. Show versus tell is one of the least. There are plenty of occasions where telling is absolutely fine, and plenty of occasions where it's actually better than showing. Like if something's happening in the background, like it's not particularly important, tell. Don't show that shit. That's gonna slow everything down if you do. You just ruin the pacing. You need to learn when to show and when to tell, but it's never only do one or only do other, unless you're doing one of those rule-breaking stories that I was mentioning earlier.
The purpose of of showing specifically, the purpose of showing is to give focus to the things that are important.
Yes.
And so if you're telling something, if you're telling something that is not important, you use more tell to quickly get through that part and get back to the important things that you show.
In general, yeah. Like, it's just you need to understand when and where to do both. Both have their places, both have their uses. Don't only do one or only do the other.
It's it does vary quite a bit depending on the genre that you're writing as well, and the style that you're writing with. Like some books that I've been reading recently, which were recommended by Ferret.
You're welcome. They're amazing.
Very good books.
Which book, sorry?
Frine Fisher.
Briney.
Briney Fisher.
Yeah, because you pronounce it like Briney.
Briney. All right, okay.
She's named after the famous courtesan.
Yeah, these Franny Fisher stories.
When the walls of Jordan fell, she apparently went to the people and said that she would rebuild them, but she wished to have a small plaque that said, the walls brought down by such and such, rebuilt by Phryne the courtesan, and they went, no, we don't want them. We don't want walls that badly.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I don't think I'm that far ahead yet.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Oh well, never mind. These stories are written they're a kind of a first-person thing, and they're written in a very particular style, and they are, when you actually look at them objectively, they are very telly in a lot of ways, because you got the character who's basically just saying this and this and that and that and this and that, but they're telling a story. It's the character telling a story, so it's sort of like telling and showing at the same time, if you see what I mean. And that's because that particular genre is like the whole sort of, it's kind of a weird sort of pastiche of noir and Pride and Prejudice, with a whole load of cynicism piled on top.
Even with more common genres.
He describes the character it's the shadow, but if they were a woman.
Yes, exactly.
In like 1928, 1929. So I'm an absolute sucker for that kind of stuff, and I love it to bits.
I've been enjoying them quite a lot, but yeah, like I say, it's the genre of it, it's the style of it, it's written in a particular way, and it works because it sets out to be that. It sets out to be kind of telly from the start, and it's not slipping into a mistake. It's doing it on purpose.
It's worth noting that authors' styles do vary wildly. Like, there are a lot of authors who show an awful lot more than other authors, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And if it is a bad thing, a lot of the time it's a subjectively bad thing. Like, I've mentioned a bunch of times on this podcast that I don't like Skurtz's writing style, and that's absolutely not Skurtz's fault. That's me for having the particular kind of taste that I do. I much prefer more like Livingston-esque. No, Hemingway. Why did I say Livingston? Yeah, Hemingway-esque, where it's very minimalist, very very short and to the point, whereas other people much prefer flowery prose, and that's absolutely fine. And for like
both are very good styles.
Yeah, absolutely. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them from an objective standpoint. It's just a sort of your mileage may vary. It's like there's nothing wrong with liking the color blue more than the color red. You know.
The example that comes to mind for me is Brian Jacques, the Redwall series, and the fact that he had that weird food fetish where he'd have to describe like a banquet for 5 pages.
At least it's not bloody James Joyce. Have you seen? Oh, Jesus Christ!
Oh, Joyce.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so precious. My comparison to writing styles was, on one hand, you have Short Circuit Explosions, who does these amazing long flowery pieces of text, and then you have someone like Totally Not a Brony, who to me is like the ultimate economy of writing. You know, everything he writes is very short, very succinct, very to the point.
Fair enough.
We have over on the FinFic comments, we have a question, and specifically being asked, read this comment.
If you want fan art of
Pathira.
Yes.
Read it. Read it.
Golly gosh, do I want to see fan art of this? What do you think is key with being a good critic? And if you suggest listening to larger critics, I'm already doing that. So I mean, I'll preface this by saying that we actually did. It's not uploaded yet, but there was actually a panel that myself and Plum and Ferret and not Red and not Arch, sorry, were on BronyCon, but it was specifically about this topic. So once that gets uploaded, there will be some answers to that.
Oh yeah, I'm going to blog about that.
Some more answers on that now.
Yeah, like when that video finally comes up, I'm gonna blog about it. I'm gonna put a post in the Seattle Zane.
Oh yeah, Sam. I'm gonna promote the heck out of it.
Yeah, but it's good advice for being a critic is just a general piece is remember the difference between subjectivity and objectivity and keep it in mind with everything you do. A good review, depending on which kind of review you're going for, uses a mix of both subjectivity and objectivity. Like,
and when you're talking about your subjective things, you know, be like, personally, I do not like this, versus, you know, more objective things, you and just trying to
be sure to mark it out as your opinion rather than an actual fact.
Yeah.
A lot of authors are going to be able to tell the difference, but some people may not be able to. It's just courtesy. But yeah, I believe I started out the panel with explaining, or the section of the panel on criticism, with explaining different types of criticism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've got your criticism, which is aimed at the author, which is to help the author improve. You've got your reviews, which are, like, intended to recommend people avoid the story for potential audience members. And you've got the reviews, which are like Yahtzee, which are intended for the reviewer's audience, which aren't actually there for the story itself, but are there for the review of it.
All of those styles have a different target audience in mind, and
as a result,
different things that you are trying to portray.
Mm-hmm. And as a result of their different target audiences and the different aims, they have different styles, and they need to focus on different things. Since you called it critic, I'm assuming. Well, it could either be a recommendation or like helping the author improve. If it's helping the author improve, the majority of what you need to focus on is like objective stuff. Like you need to say, here's a thing you did wrong, but you also need, and this is the most important thing, you need to explain, here's how you improve. Here's how you get better. Here's how you fix. Here's how you become a better author. That's what you're there for. If you're there for the author, you're there to improve the general writing standard on fanfiction, which is a noble goal, even though it's a drop in the ocean.
It still has an effect. It's a trickle-down effect.
We're basically Donald Trump right now.
I write the good fan fiction, and then views trickle down to my followers. Yeah, that's definitely how it works.
Totally.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
But
when are we going to have the Donald Trump edition of the podcast?
Oh God. So yeah, I
Does that mean I don't have to come out since I don't live in the country who's dumb enough to actually consider electing him or Kanye West?
I don't either. I just like laughing at the bastard.
I actually, speaking of that, there was a rumor that he might, or not that he might pick, but that he was being propositioned by Hulk Hogan to run as his VP.
Didn't he say some really racist shit recently and they got pissed?
He said it several times.
Trump or Hogan, because the answer is
Hogan.
yes.
Trump has just been doing that since he started.
Hogan said
got pulled from a bunch of stuff recently.
Hogan said racist stuff and now doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's right.
Hulkamania never happened. Nope. He was never a wrestler in the WWE. He is a non-entity. If you ask them who Hulk Hogan was, they'll go, who? We don't know it. So some guy down the street. But yeah. Back on topic, we're going to say something about
someone else, like maybe John Cena.
Da 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 da.
Arch, that was a dank meme. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I know.
That's terrible.
I can't help myself.
So getting back to the questions, so we addressed, criticism from helping the author perspective. There's also, the type of, being a critic for helping potential readers, helping them to, discern, what are good things that they should do. So
an
part of that.
This kind of critic is Chris, who goes around and recommends you avoid primarily EQD stuff, but also other stuff as well. Mm-hmm. So check him out.
So I mean, for that, first of all, you want to be reading a lot, and I mean, like not just reading other critiquers, but reading fan fiction, because are you selecting 6-star stories from EQ? Well, that's a finite list. Are you picking things from the feature box, like John Perry, to his Suffering the feature box?
Mm-hmm. Or are you like us and you select like low view things?
Low view things. You've got like people like Present Perfect, Titanium Dragon, who they just kind of pick this hodgepodge of things, just from stuff that's been recommended from them, stuff that they just stumbled across, stuff that they, someone did a thick reading and they just have to be, listening to that in their car. So, read a lot of that stuff, because that, the more that you have read as a reader, then the more that you start to understand what you like, what you don't like, and understanding what does and doesn't work, and the more objective things on that, so that informs your actual critique.
Yeah, in terms of what the content of the critique itself, Obviously, you do need to include your objective stuff, like this story doesn't have fantastic grammar. But like, the key thing with this sort of review is that the people reading the I've seen the fan art too, Arch. It's interesting. The key part of the review is that the people reading the review are going to read it and they're going to try and make up their own mind based on it. So you need to mention the objective things, and rip Pav again. Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
100 out of 100.
I want fan art of Arch. You need to mention the objective things, and also the subjective things, and explain, like, why you feel these subjective things are good or bad. Like, you need to explain where you're coming from and why you don't like something. You don't need to explain how to fix something, or what they could do better, or what they're doing, like anything like that. This isn't about helping the author improve. It's helping the people reading your review understand where you're coming from, and allowing them to color your entire review based on that. Like, if I walk into a story and say, well, I generally don't like random stories. Here's a random story that I hate. People may not take that review particularly seriously because I don't like random stories. But if I come into a random story and say, actually, this is fucking great, maybe they're more inclined to listen. Or maybe they're less inclined to listen because they think I don't know shit about random stories. It's letting the readers of the review... I'm dying here, sorry. Make up their minds of whether they want to check this thing out because of you explaining why you feel this way, you know? That's the key thing.
I would also say, for you as a critic, you want to figure out your style.
Yeah.
I mean, you have people like Chris or what's his name? Amit, I think.
Amit.
Yeah,
that's
like
a name I haven't heard in ages. Is he still around?
He kind of died, unfortunately. I think he's kind of coming back, maybe, but yeah, he's kind of dropped off the face of the earth. But you know, like some people, like they're fairly serious. They're fairly, have these, dissertation, very clearly explaining their opinion. You have, like us in Seattle's Angels, who have, like a couple paragraphs, intersplicing some images to kind of keep, having like the jokey intro, outro, just kind of keep things, a little bit more on the entertaining side. You have someone like Yahtzee, who, having, the video, all of the visual gags, and, just, keeping the thing clearly, the entertainment value being the first and foremost thing. So kind of deciding, like, what style are you going for? Where do your strengths go? Because, I mean, the thing that you, kind of on the flip side, you will see some people who do, like, especially like when Digibrony and Brony Carries, like those guys, and you had that huge bubble of episode reviewers that I think that bubble has popped by now, hasn't it, or something?
Yes.
I don't know. But
it kind of exploded, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone, I think Silver Quill quit the fandom because people didn't agree with his opinions or something, and it's just sort of all gone downhill from there. So
yeah.
There are still some reviewers around, like WUBBA, really good. And she's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, there are definitely still some excellent ones, but my point was during the bubble, you also saw some pretty not good ones because not necessarily that their opinions were bad, but they were saying, oh, everyone is doing YouTube productions, and I don't necessarily have the video skills to back that up, but I'm going to do it anyway, and so, YouTube was not the best medium for those people. They would have fared better if they had done, like, blog posts.
Yeah. It's true, and it's also worth noting that a lot of times, a lot of these channels struggle because they don't explain where they're coming from. They don't say why Pinkie Pie is terrible in this episode. Like they just say Pinkie Pie is bad and they leave it at that. And that doesn't say anything. Is she bad because she killed a guy, or is she bad
because she gave everyone diabetes by too much sugar consumption? Like, you need to quantify it.
Yeah, like a review floating in the void is worthless, or something like that. But no, an opinion floating in the void is worthless. That's what I should have said. Damn, I'm too slow. But yeah, There are different kinds of reviews, different kinds of critiques. Settle on what you want to do. Try not to blend different... like we mentioned the 3 basic types. Try not to straddle them too much, because that will confuse your audiences as to what your intentions are.
Don't be afraid to start out with a very clear intention. Just stick to one style. Just start out small. You as you get going, you'll have time to kind of grow into it. But there's nothing wrong with just starting within your just start at your level you're comfortable with, and then get bigger and better from there.
Yeah,
don't feel that you have to start out from the top every time. You are totally allowed to start out and feel your way around and try different things.
It's worth noting, though, that if you ever do intend to do reviews aimed at different groups of people, like sometimes you'll do reviews aimed at helping the author, sometimes you'll do recommendations. Try and, at the beginning of the review, explain who this is going for. A lot of people do this by just titling their kinds of reviews. Like Extra Credits does some episodes aimed at game designers and helping them improve, and some of them are just for general audiences who want to learn how things happen. But if someone who follows you for recommendation reviews comes along and they see a comment which is basically just a list of grammatical problems and things you did wrong and maybe a few things you did right, they're just... It could be a fantastic story, but the person coming along to the review could just say, oh, it's just a list of problems. That's not great. I don't want to read this. Whereas it's actually something they quite enjoyed, and they feel passionate about it, and they want to help it improve in any way they can. So just, if you do ever plan on doing more than one different kind of review, make sure people can tell the difference easily right at the start. So yeah, stuff like that. Also, we look forward to more horse drawings.
Yes, always.
Also, general advice for being a good critic: just read everything.
Yeah.
Everything. That's good advice in general. If you want to do anything associated with anything story related, even if it's animating stories, just read, because then you'll understand the flow of prose better. You'll understand how to translate it better. Stuff like that. Like everything to do with stories is improved by the addition of more reading. So just go for it.
Yeah, and even read things you don't like.
Yes. Right, we are approaching the end of the stream, but we do have one thing we want to do before we go, don't we?
I think we do.
Yes. Let us bring the link for that. Okay, everyone, I'm going to post it in the Seattle's Angels Hangout chat. I'm going to post it in the public chat and in the thread in a little bit. I think I added a hashtag at the end of that, so go for that one.
I'm going to start muting people because we want to. This needs to be kind of a reaction shot kind of thing. But so this is a.
Everything's gone quiet.
Arch, watch it.
I just did.
What are your thoughts, Arch?
Please say something, because I'm really terrified that you won't like it.
I love it.
Yay.
I'm posting it in the public chat right now. I'll post it in the thread as well.
I don't think Arch can even.
No.
Yeah,
This is called
Arch
Ferret
is
is a dorky fangirl and does dumb shit.
Yes.
Also, yes, that is the official voice actor.
I recognize it, yeah.
This is Cranky
Yes.
Doodle Donkey. The official one.
Oh, man.
There we go. Bit delayed.
Arch has ceased being able to, even.
Yes.
I am
Cannot
okay
even.
with this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a worthwhile thing.
Oh. How did you get that?
Because he did a Kickstarter. He did an Indiegogo thing because the Canadian government kind of sucks about paying royalties for VA stuff. And he had a really nice place in BC. So him and his daughter made this Indiegogo thing that was like, for a couple of bucks you could get a headshot, for a couple of bucks you could do this, and for a couple of bucks he would send you a custom thing. And so I was like, he did Cranky Doodle Donkey, Arch writes donkeys. I know what I must do. So
The plan was set in motion.
And like the Kickstarter ended, nothing happened, and then his daughter and him emailed me and were like, "Hey, what do you want?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, could you do this? But I mean, if you don't want to say damn, that's okay. And you know, you're awesome and thank you." And then a couple days later, they sent me this video, and I've been agonizing with it over with Plum about it because I was like, "Well, maybe I should get it animated. And what if he doesn't like it? What if he thinks it's weird?" And yeah. You're awesome, Arch, and I wanted to make sure that you knew that, and that Cranky thinks you're awesome too.
All together now. Aww.
I do
That's
hope the
special.
camera's
That's
on
great.
Arch's head. Yeah, it's really great.
I didn't mean to, honest.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, dude. And with that bombshell, I think it's time to bloody end the stream before we get
possibly
too
the most heartwarming ending we've had.
The most heartwarming bombshell, the love bomb.
Yes.
Oh Jesus Christ!
The
I've just
changelings are
remembered
overjoyed.
something. Yes. We should end the stream before it gets really weird.